So let's first understand, what JavaScript is all about. What is this language? Basically, what this language does. Right? Before we answer that, we should also know about two other languages. So there are total three languages that are created for web. HTML, CSS and JavaScript. These are the three languages for web pages. These are the three core languages for web page development. Right? These are three core languages for web page development. Right? So that is one thing. Apart from that, if we have to understand what HTML does, as far as the full form is concerned, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Now, Hypertext Markup Language HTML basically helps us decide the structure and a layout, basically structure and the content of a web page you can give via HTML. You will learn, you know, many HTML tags are there, div, form, button, things like that. So with the help of that, you design your web page the way it should look. Now React is also there, but basically HTML, is there since the beginning. So to create the content and a structure of a web page. Then you have CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Right? Cascading style sheets handle the presentation part. How your web page will look like, how much the font size will be, the as far as the content is concerned, every text should have a certain font size. Every text should have, let's say, some background color. Web page can have a background color, right? Even there is a small div, so div can have a width, height, margin, things like that. So presentation part is taken care by CSS, content and a structure is taken care by HTML, and then comes our JavaScript, a third language for web page development. JavaScript basically makes your web pages interactive, right? JavaScript makes your web page to perform. With the help of JavaScript, you decide what web page will do, right? So we will understand when you hover a mouse, when you move a mouse on certain link, that is JavaScript which is doing. Even when I enter something wrong in the form, I get an error message. That is also because of JavaScript. So my web page performs according to how we have mentioned the JavaScript. Our web page does its work based on what JavaScript code we have written down in the background. Right? So they have three distinct roles to play. HTML manages the content and structure of a web page. CSS manages the presentation part. JavaScript manages what your web page what your web page will actually do. In other words, if your web page is interactive, if your web page is taking user requirements, it is because of the JavaScript which is written in the back. Right? So this is a role of a JavaScript, role of a HTML, role of a CSS. Okay. Then for every language there is a parser who compiles your JavaScript code and who interpret your JavaScript code, right? So there is a parser for every language. Similarly, we have a parser called JavaScript Virtual Machine, engine, which is there as part of every browser, which you have all the browser like Chrome, Edge, Mozilla, Safari. Every browser has got a JavaScript Virtual Machine engine. Chrome and Opera has V8. Despite this Mozilla Firefox has SpiderMonkey, right? These are their names. For example, we have Edge also. Edge has two two virtual machine Java JVM, JavaScript Virtual Machine Engine. Edge has got actually, popular one is Chakra Core. Right, similarly for Safari you have got Nitro and you have got Squirrelfish. Right, for Safari you have got this. For Edge you have this. For Firefox you have this, and for Chrome you have this. So your JavaScript actually works on a web browser. Right, for JavaScript, web browser is the playground. For JavaScript, web browser is the area where JavaScript actually works. Right, whether we write Node or React, ultimately we will be testing our JavaScript code on the web browser. Now for every language there is a parser, a compiler or an interpreter basically. Right, so now compiler and an interpreter for every browser, there is a specific parser which does all that, and these are their names. Right, that one should know. Okay, then every language has got a certain history. You know, JavaScript also came into picture in the year 1995 when Java came. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
JavaScript virtual machine.
Yeah. JavaScript Virtual Machine Engine.
Yeah, what is that?
I was telling you that every language, see, when I say JavaScript works on a browser, right? So inside the browser, there will be a special program that compiles my JavaScript code, right? Every browser has got a embedded engine basically. That engine is called as JavaScript Virtual Machine Engine. JavaScript Virtual Machine Engine. Right? Every browser has got one. And when I was telling you V8 as a JavaScript Virtual Machine Engine, which is there for Chrome and Opera, SpiderMonkey, these are the embedded engine in the browser which compiles my JavaScript. So when I run something on a web page, these engine basically compiles, or you can simply say it parse my script. Right, it converts my script into bytecode or machine language code. Machine language, and operating system understands the machine language. Right, and Chrome, Edge, these browser optimizes our JavaScript also. They analyze, they optimize to make the web pages fast. Right, so that is the job of a JavaScript virtual machine engine. Okay, fine.
Violation.
Okay, so JavaScript, uh, so we have learned what JavaScript is, what JavaScript does. It makes your web pages interactive. Right, I will be able to accept a particular input from the user. I will we will see how things work on the server side also. Right, so, and I will also see if I have to modify a certain style of a web page. You can do that with the help of JavaScript. And JavaScript is basically passed by these JavaScript virtual machine engine basically. Right, then I was telling you that JavaScript was introduced in the year 1995, and it was initially named as LiveScript. But because Java also came in the same year and it became hugely popular, so just to enjoy the same bandwagon of that name, they renamed themselves as LiveScript to JavaScript, right? But lately this decision was not accepted by the users, because they are two completely different languages, right? They have no relation whatsoever, but it confuses programmer, right? Then thereafter, uh, and it was initially created for a browser called Netscape Navigator. Just for the basic knowledge, for Netscape Navigator 2, this JavaScript was introduced, and parallelly Internet Explorer that time was there. So they created their own scripting language with the name JScript, right? So every year different release of JavaScript comes, used to come, and every year a different release of, parallelly they were going. So when JavaScript 2.0 was coming, so JScript uh, 1.0 was coming, so that they were coming parallelly. They were the two major browsers that time. But lately, by 1999, there was this European Computer Manufacturing, Association, ACMA. They took control of this, and they gave the first release of this JavaScript. And after that, JavaScript also, people used to call it with the name ACMAScript also, because it is taken care by ACMA body. Right, and the first release actually came in the year 2010 July. Right, so they started giving new updates to JavaScript, or LiveScript, or ACMAScript, whatever you want to call it. Right, and the major release ES5 came in 2015, and then you know then ES6 came, right? And so now ES7 is expected. So these update, like Oracle takes care of, like Oracle gives the updates on Java, similarly ACMA, standardized body, they you know they give latest updates in JavaScript, or LiveScript, or ACMAScript. Now this is a small history behind this language. But ES6 is a major advancement to JavaScript. So you should know. So before, see, I'll tell you how that what are the data types in JavaScript, how keywords work, and things like that. But you should know certain enhancements to get used to this language. So for example, the major thing that has come in JavaScript is with the name constants. Right, as part of ES6, constants came in JavaScript. Right, for example, if I just give you a feel of this language, so if I open a Fiddle editor or a Play Code editor, whichever editor you want to use, you can use that. Now this is an editor where I can test my JavaScript code. So constant is what? A redefinition of any variable will give me an error. That is a constant, which I'll show you. The error is also very meaningful. For example, if I create a constant with the name a, and if I give a value 3.5, thereafter if I change the value to 3.6, if I print like this, console.log, the value of a is, and if I print like this, right, after that if I try to print like this, it will give me an error basically. This error, assignment to a constant variable, right? So this concept came in JavaScript as part of ES6, right? 2017 all these updates started coming in. Okay, so and so I can't do this basically, but I can of course say 3.5 multiplied by 2. This is fine. Okay, this is fine, there is no problem with that, but I can't change the value. So the concept of constants came. Similarly, the major thing that came, basically constants belong to the concept called block scope variables. It has given us a let keyword basically, right? Block scope, meaning if that variable is defined within a function, it has only a function scope, right? So if I create a new variable, inside a function, it can only be used within the function. For example, if I have, let's say this is a block, this curly braces or figure bracket. Here I have a variable b with the value 10. Okay, and I have another block where I say b has a value 20. Now see the power of a block. If I simply say the value of a b is, value of b is, if I simply write like this, and if I take like this here, inside the outer block, so my outer block will print the value of b is 10. But the same thing if I print in inner block, it will print 20. So see the power of a block. So this is called as a block scope keyword, function scope basically. The life of the variable retain to or stick to the block basically, right? So even though same variable exists inside another block, the outer block still holds its own value, right? So this is called as a block basically. Just to introduce you with this language, just to introduce you with the with the ES6 features, right? Then there is another feature called as arrow function. If you are aware of Java, there you have lambda. You have lambda in Java, you have lambda in Python data sciences also. Here also you have something called as arrow function. This is called as an arrow. Okay, so here if I say give me an incremented value, right? Again I used let keyword, and here I simply said I will give you a, you give me the incremented value of a, right? So x is a function and it is defined using arrow function. So if I print x with the value 10, it will give me an incremented value 11, because the function says whatever input you give me, I will add 1 to that, right? This is called as arrow function in JavaScript, which ES6 gave us, right? Same thing is given to us by ES6, which is called as for each. Instead of for loop, I can use for each now. On the left hand side you have an array. Array is always recognized by a square bracket. So for each element I use an arrow function that 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you give to me, I will just give you a multiplier. So that value hard coded, I did show you the arrow function, and this just to give you one is right here it, instead of this let's put equal to. So you see 1 4 1 1 2 4 3 9 4 16. So for each element inside the array, I give a squared number. You know, same thing multiplied by itself. This is also given to us by ES6. We need to be familiar with this. So with arrays, I will show you for each. In closures module 6, you will see for each, right? Like arrow function is given to us by ES6, for each is also given to us by ES6. Similarly, I could have also said that, let's say there are certain numbers. These are some numbers inside the array. So I can call this sort function. I said I will be giving you two parameters. This is how you can do the sorting. It happens in all the languages. So left hand side, right hand side equal to 0. So if I print this inside console.log, you will get a sorted array. 0, 2, 3, 10, 20, 34, 65. We sorted in the ascending order, right? And we are doing this with the help of arrow function, that we are giving you two numbers at a time, and using minus operator you can sort.
Sort is already.
It's a function in JavaScript. Sort is already.
So where are
the
is there any documentation already embedded present in Java?
Yeah, so you can Google that. There is, you can Google that ES6 features, you'll get to know.
Okay, ECMA.
Okay, so arrow functions, this for each and sort, we have actually seen with the arrow function only. This basically I wanted to tell you that functions are now described like this in JavaScript, so you have to be familiar with that whatever value is being given to you, you can get a squared value, you can do this sorting like this. Similarly, there is something called as default function parameter, spread operator, default function parameter. Okay, meaning now you can declare the parameter of a method with default values, right? For example, here I was using two parameters earlier. So if I say I have var, I will teach you about var also. So if I am saying I will give you two parameter, but I only give you one parameter at the time of execution, I forgot to give you the second parameter. So here I could have said by default the value of a second parameter is 2. So the output came out to be 20. 10 into 2, 20. So here what I was saying, I will give you two parameters, you multiply both of them. So this is a definition of a function which resides in variable x. Right? X is a function that contains this definition. So 10 is given to x, and we learned about this default function parameter right now. But if I give a second parameter, nobody is stopping me. I just gave one default value. So if I give 3, you'll get to know 30. 10 into 3, 30.
Right? The default value.
This one is a default value. If you don't give, then only it will come into picture.
So 2 is a default value, right?
2 is a default value for a second parameter. Right. Okay. But now our parser is also intelligent enough. If I say, first one is a default one. Right, first one is a default one, and I only pass one parameter, then how will the parser know that I am passing 3, which will work as a second parameter? right? I got a NaN, not a number. It's a okay thing in JavaScript, right? If I would have given two things, 2 comma 3, I would have got 6 as an output. But here, I was giving left hand side default value. So if I have to give like that, NA and undefined, these are keywords in JavaScript. Now it will say 30 because I said first parameter is not known to me. So it took a default value now. Okay, so if you are passing a first parameter default value, and if you don't know first parameter, then you have to give it like this, undefined, right? But if you give first parameter, let's say like this, then of course it will give me 12 now. These are default function parameters which came in ES6, right?
So
Then
instead of undefined, you
yeah,
can just give comma.
instead of
Just
undefined, I can give 4.
no. Remove that undefined and keep the comma.
Undefined is a keyword. It's a data type in JavaScript, which I'll teach you. So I could not get, instead of undefined,
Just give the comma. Remove undefined
then
then.
you will, we get a compilation error, unexpected token, right? So if you don't give NaN, if you give comma, syntax, script died because of a syntax error. And
Right.
unless and until you give undefined, then only it will work properly. Okay. So similar to that, you have something called as rest function parameter, spread operator. Meaning, I may have a need to pass arbitrary number of arguments, right? But I can't define all those functions like function overloading. So here if I define these two, this is a function, then I can say spread operator, 3 dots, that any number of arguments can come now. So I can simply say that the value for a is, I printed a, then I said value for b is, I printed b, and after that I said left r using args length, these are left, these are how many, these are the number of arguments which are left, right? So if I say x 2 1 comma 2 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6, if I run this, it says value for a is 1 and value for b is 2 and left are 2 more arguments. This is a rest function parameters, right? We can take the rest number of arguments after the defined arguments using this syntax. Extra arguments can be captured like this. I'll show you how more about this, but just as an introduction to JavaScript. Okay, that is called as a rest function parameter. Then you have got something called as string templating, right? String templating. So when you have to, let's say, do something like this, let message to person, let's say there is a person called John to whom I would like to give out a message. So here I said the message was hi, and either I can do like this, message to the person, like this, right? So it will print console.log message, right? It says hi John, but I did not want to do like that. you know this is called as string templating. Backtick hi dollar sign figure bracket message to person. Now when you console log message to, you can include a second string with inside another string like this. This is called as string templating. I interpolated this string variable or an expression into another string. This is called as a backtick. Besides one or above the tab key, you have backtick. Single quote, if you can't use single quote or double quote here, it has to be backtick. Dollar sign, curly braces or figure bracket. This is called as string templating. For example, if I use arrow function also here, if I say output variable, I will be giving you a, you add 5 to that. Okay, so here I said, there is a parameter with the value 10. Okay, now I created another message 3 backtick. Okay, and here I said the value is, so this dollar sign figure bracket output accepts a parameter, right? Output accepts a parameter, and if I console log this, so 10 into 5, 50 will be given to me. I gave a parameter 10 to output 50 and the value came as 50. 10 into 5. So string templating also happened, arrow function also used, and I just passed a parameter to this function because it is telling me that it can accept one argument.
Basically,
Right? Sorry?
basically, method itself in the thing, right?
Come again? Your voice is coming a little low. Yeah, say it again.
So basically, you send the method in the string.
Method in the string. Output in the output string.
Yes, output is a method, right?
No, it
Or
is
a
not.
is a method basically, right?
So let's not use the word method. Let's use arrow function. So you can say
Got
the
it.
yeah,
Okay,
right.
yeah. So you pass the arrow function to the string.
No. You can say this function is defined using the concept of arrow function, and this function definition exists in this variable, and ultimately in JavaScript terminology you can say this is a function right now. So let's you know what you are saying, it is not a string, it has a function definition.
Okay, got it.
So this function can accept a parameter and I gave it like this, and string templating also happened. Inside I am printing the output, right? So
Okay,
that was, yeah,
right.
right, that was string templating. Then comes another, so we saw constant, block scope variable, arrow function, default function, we saw rest function parameter, and we saw uh, after that we saw string templating. Then comes the important thing called object. You must have heard about JSON,
Yeah,
JavaScript object notation, right? So JavaScript, this is an object. Let's say I have first, in ES5, before that, if I say hi, this variable, and if I have another variable with value, you know let's say JS, so I can give these inside an object, right? So this is an object which is recognized by figure bracket. Object JSON is always in the figure bracket or curly braces. So in ES5 earlier one, I'm telling you that XX YY, they used to create an object like this in the earlier days. If you print this, X is high, Y is JS. It was earlier days how they used to create an object, right? It was earlier. Now you can create, we will have a separate session entirely on object basically. So we have X and Y right now, so I don't have to give using colon. Now you can create object like this, X comma Y, so these are the key value pair. Third key value pair I can add by myself. If it is a multiple string hello, and I give Y again, and value I gave as 10. So if I print obj2, it will have X as high, Y as JS, but hello plus Y, which is JS, value 10, key value pair combination. This is property. Objects are also, multiple things have come in object, which we will see in the coming sessions. But a JSON, a simple JavaScript object notation, it looks like this. Now
So hello plus another object, or is it a key value pair?
it is a key value pair. Object will always be seen using figure bracket or curly braces.
Okay. Hello JS has a 10 value assigned.
Yeah. But here inside object, you can have methods also in JavaScript. For example, there is a method called, let's say, sample method, right? So this sample method says I accept a parameter p, and I will return p plus 10 or 20. Now I said the 0 1 2, right? I have this method called sample method. So I simply said obj2.sample method, giving argument 100, putting that into console.log. It will give me the output 120, right? It gives me output 120 but I wanted to show you here in JSON you can have a method definition also, function definition also. So you have to be ready for these these enhancements which has come. Functions can also exist as part of objects, right? Okay, so this is objects, and then you have got classes which can be defined as part of JavaScript now. For example, this is a class. Constructors are created to initialize variables, non-static variables. This keyword, just to initialize this radius variable with the method parameter, right? So this is my class, this is my constructor. After this, I created the object of this class called circle, and I gave a radius as 12. Okay, now if I print this object, it will show me that it has a radius value 12, because we have just set one key value pair combination using this object. So class can be created in JavaScript, objects can be this constructor can be created to initialize this variable, non-static instance variable. You can do that, right? That is very much possible. Or you could have defined, create a function, let's say calculate area. Now calculate area simply says math.py into this radius. Right? So after this object is created, I call my function called calculate area on this object, right, with the value 12. So if I would have, put, if I would have placed this inside console log, it would have given me area as 3.14 into 12 into 12. Method can be defined inside a class in JavaScript. All this is possible. This keyword, resolves the ambiguity between the method parameter and the instance variable. This is a simple function which returns the area, and this is how I printed the area. Right? I could have had a getter function for the area which does the same thing. Right? This is a getter function. So if I simply print, same thing here, this is a getter for the area. Instead of calculating, calling calculate area, if I simply say this area, a getter function will be called and same output will be given to me. Getter function to get the output. Right? Similarly, I could have used setter function also. Right? This is let's say there is one local variable, and here is my setter function, to set the data in the radius. So I set this dot local variable with the method parameter. This is a setter function, right? So if I set the data for radius using 13, right, I set a new radius value. Now if I print, the area, this is the output. Here I have, getter. I am calling this another variable which doesn't exist now. All right. So
There is NaN coming.
sorry, come again. You see,
There was NaN undefined was coming. That's what I was.
yeah, not a number. It's a data type in JavaScript. NaN. When you multiply string with a number, you get NaN.
Okay.
Right. So then, you have got inheritance also now in JavaScript. Right. I can take every other feature from the parent into the child. That is also possible. Right. All these features have come basically. Inheritance you have in every language. So let's say there is a shape class, and there is a constructor for the shape class. So let's say there is a width and a height variable for the shape. You introduce two local variable like this. You replace it with the method parameter, right? And you did the same thing with the height also. One method parameter and one local variable. Right? This is your parent class. Right now I will create a child class. So I can take this getter function. So if I copy, and if my parent class has got area, and here I use this local variable and this local variable, and then I'm using the setter function for this variable, with this data. So we are setting the data in this local variable. Same thing we did it here in the second. This is a setter function. This is a parent class. My parent class is complete now. Now I can create a child class. Let's say again circle, and a circle extends shape. Now here I will just create a constructor to set the radius. So here I said no width height, only radius. So using super keyword I can set the data. right? Now using setter function, I can set the upper class width with the radius, and same thing I could do, with the height also. Now to test this, I will create an object for this circle class, and I will give a radius as 15. Now I already have that area function in the parent. So if I print, you get for the 15 radius like this. What I wanted to show you here, this we have already done in our earlier example, but here I am using inheritance. Extends keyword is used to inherit this setter and the getter, and these methods from the parent class. Now this is all possible in JavaScript, right? So just the introduction so that you get familiar with this, right? So we saw what JavaScript actually does. We saw how it works, a little bit history and few features. Now after that we can start with var keyword, with data types and things like that, and objects, JSON basically. After that we will talk all about these concepts in detail. Okay.
So I am familiar, but the thing so far that class thing I am not. Means Java classes I know, but JavaScript classes is little bit difficult for me to digest.
Yeah, so you don't have to learn on the day one, just an introduction. Lately we will talk about arrays, map and set. So many things, we just introduce ourselves. So lately, you just get yourself used to this, create these examples and get used to it.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.